Welcome back to my YouTube channel, everybody. I'm joined today by retired NCIS Special Agent Tom Coyle, who's featured for the third time on this channel. And today with Tom, we'll talk about something very new and very specific. That is the impact on Donald Trump's reelection and in his administration on law enforcement, specifically in the United States. So we'll talk about something that is in the news these days. Thanks for your time for the third time, Tom. Thanks for joining me again.
My pleasure. I'm tickled to be here, and if I can provide any insights into what's been going on, Leonardo, I'm more than happy to do that.
Well, Tom, even if this is our third video together, I would like you to introduce yourself because my viewers, maybe some have seen our previous videos and some haven't. So feel free to introduce yourself and say anything that you think is relevant.
Thank you. Yeah, I have had a career in law enforcement and national security. I started with Fairfax County, Virginia Police Department, and was an NCIS Special Agent for 21 years, served around the world on 3 different ships in 2 foreign countries, and later as a cleared contractor helping the Office of Director of National Intelligence figure out their counterintelligence policies, and served on the National Insider Threat Task Force that answers to the White House. And now on a third chapter, am teaching law enforcement to public safety folks in Virginia and Connecticut, of all places. And so I'm lining that up. My website, leading4life.com, provides a little more info on that. But anyway, glad to be here, and happy New Year a few days in advance to you.
Yeah, same likewise. So, Tom, first off, this is the second time that Donald Trump is going to be the U.S. president. And we know that it happened only twice in history that a president had 2 mandates with another guy in between. So how should this new Trump administration be different from the first one in terms of law enforcement?
That's a good question. I would point out that before I answer that, soon-to-be President Trump again will be a lame duck in that he cannot run for a third term. We had one of the amendments right after Roosevelt passed in the 50s, prohibited any person from serving 2 terms, more than 2 terms. So I think law enforcement will fare better under this administration because President Trump is less constrained with old politically correct practices of the most recent administration called DEI, I guess. And as I alluded to in our interview right after President Trump's attempted assassination, July 13th, I have learned over the course of a few months that particular protective service detail consisted of Homeland Security agents. At least as many were present there as Secret Service agents, and they were They were partly picked, I think, for the fact that they were nearby, not the theme of best athlete up, not the theme of a meritocracy we talked about. And I think you'll see those sorts of decisions completely changed with the new administration, and that's a good news story for law enforcement. We had talked about before local police and security in the cities and so forth. The federal government has very, very little to do with local police and their policies and how they patrol. About the only thing of a daily connection to the federal government is if they come across an undocumented alien, illegal alien, somebody who's not entitled to be in the United States visiting or otherwise. And I think you're going to see local police take a stronger stand against people who are here in our country illegally and commit a crime. I think the pendulum's going to swing back.
Okay, so let's start our discussion from the FBI. We see that we're going to have a new director in a few weeks. And funny thing is that the incumbent was also nominated by Donald Trump back in 2017. And
It
the
is.
new director is a guy by the name of Kash Patel. So I read everything about him on the Italian press. Someone says he's a conspiracy theorist. Someone says he's very sympathetic with the folks who assaulted Capitol Hill on January 6th, 4 years ago. What can you tell us about this guy? Who's this Kash Patel?
Well, first of all, he has to be approved by the Senate and Congress. So he won't be the next director until or unless he's approved. Now, what the president could do, which is sort of a sneaky way of doing it, is appoint him the acting director for a period, I think, of up to 2 years if he doesn't pass congressional scrutiny, which I think he probably will. But if he doesn't, he could make him acting director. So it's not locked in place.
Okay.
It's not a done deal. But I've read about him, like you, and I've read also about the new proposed person for director of national intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, and I initially was concerned about both nominees, but as time's gone on, I've thought more about it and read more about it, and I think that Patel will be a disruptor with a capital D, but as a former U.S. attorney acting and serving in the White House, I don't think that his disruptive firebrand statements of the past are going to really be able to fly in Washington, D.C. For example, a couple of months ago, he said, day one, I'm going to make the FBI headquarters office at 10th and Pennsylvania Avenue in Washington, make it a museum. Well, you better check with the 12,500 people that work there every day first before you make it into a museum. So he has a lot of this going on. And but that said, I think he'll be probably okay as director, because the FBI sorely needs a shaking up. The FBI has gone in a direction that most American people feel is not the right one. I think one of his initiatives is to get congressional approval for senior level staffers, meaning executive assistant directors, and that level, just like the Department of Defense does for assistant Secretary of Defenses, assistant Deputy Secretary of Defenses, Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defenses, DASDs. They get congressionally approved. I think Patel will put some new policies in place that will breathe some new, fresh blood within the FBI. I still have many contacts that are there, and I think they all long for some more regularity and just getting out of the headlines and going about doing their job. The vast majority of the 36,000 FBI employees, every day, all day, at night, Christmas and New Year's weekend, work hard for the security of this great country, and to suggest otherwise by anybody is incorrect. Yes, the current director has been a disappointment in a few areas. I'm not going to go into any of that, but he graciously said a couple of weeks ago that he was going to step aside, allowing the new president to pick a new director, even though that's at variance with congressional. Some years ago, they passed a law saying FBI directors should serve for 10 years and not be renominated. So Trump is breaking his own his own rules, so to speak, or the congressional rules, by getting rid of the current director and nominating Patel. So I don't think it'd be as bad as some of the people chirping from the sidelines think. So it's going to be interesting to see. I feel the same way about Tulsi Gabbard. She's had a few missteps in the last few years, but she's a patriotic American and she's smart. And I think she will also bring a big pot to the ODNI office and and stir it up. And the best single thing she could do is to get rid of that whole construct. ODNI is the quintessential self-licking ice cream. The national intelligence community in the U.S. does not need yet another layer of stupid bureaucracy on top of it, which is what the ODNI construct is. And that all started after 9/11. And what used to be a 350-man CIA-led coordination staff is now a many thousand people coordination staff. So it just that's the best thing she could do is get rid of it or knock down 98% of it. The FBI is in place, and the field offices do a great job every day. And so the American public should not be concerned about the politicalization of the FBI. There's no such thing today. Was there X number of years ago with Stroke and Lisa Page? And yeah, there was, and shouldn't have happened, and it's been corrected. And the FBI is not looking to get slapped in the face a second time, believe me. So they're going to do whatever they can to avoid that kind of hot spotlight.
No, but let me ask something that might sound dumb to you. Isn't it unexpected that Trump would nominate a guy whose name screams Indian?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. It's here, in this country, he's a second generation Indian American. So as you certainly know, we're a very heterogeneous country. So the fact he's from India or Korea or northern New Jersey, we just don't care. That's not in our sort of our makeup or national security makeup. It's about what can he bring to the fight. Is he passionate about it? Is he experienced in it? Do people respect him? And most importantly, is he a leader? What's interesting to me is that Trump usually picks people who sort of look the part. Not in this case, it would seem, but that's okay. My take is if he has green hair in 4 years, I could care less as long as he is good at his job and does what's best for the American people.
Same.
And
Same
of
here.
course, Trump likes him because he's utterly and completely loyal to him, just like John Ratcliffe proposed to be the CIA director. Unremarkable career, nice man, very patriotic. Went to Notre Dame, studied poli-sci, and so he's a certainly great American. Not sure he's necessarily qualified to be CIA director, but that's it. We'll see how he does.
So Trump doesn't have a good relationship right now with the FBI because of the investigations against him, in particular the documents he brought home in his villa in Mar-a-Lago. So do you think that Kash Patel will make the relationship smooth? What changes will it bring with this regard? What do you think?
Well, you can't unring a bell. So the fact that the FBI came into his Mar-a-Lago estate, people lose sight of the fact that was not the FBI doing that of their own accord. Okay, that was a federal judge issuing a search warrant. And so the FBI works for the U.S. attorney's offices in the 56 regions. And the U.S. attorney drew up a complaint about this classified material sitting there and presented it in concert with the FBI to a federal judge who approved a search warrant. So that bell has already been rung. Trump and his wife, I'm sure, are still upset about what they viewed as their invasion of privacy. But the fact is, going forward, Patel has the potential to right that ship and make the relationship better. It couldn't get much worse than it is now. So I'm hoping it'll get better.
Of course. We so far have spoken about the FBI, but what do you think about the impacts on the new Trump administration on other federal law enforcement agencies, such as the NHS, which is the Department of Homeland Security, for those who don't know, the NCIS, the ATF, and all the others?
Absolutely zero.
Okay.
Just the Homeland Security, huge agency which has Secret Service under it, TSA at all. It's too big of a bureaucracy, but we decided that, I guess, after 9/11. But day-to-day impacts, almost zero, just because those men and women are out there doing their jobs 24/7. And I think that they're glad that they participated in a recent election. I think President Trump won in a clear and resounding way, and so our government is moving direction, sort of philosophically and policy wise. But the day-to-day workers at the local, state, and federal law enforcement levels, they're marching on just as they did yesterday and the day before that. So.
Okay, what should we expect as far as the local police? Because you already said something, but I would like you to elaborate. Because one thing that the Republicans have been complaining about is security in big cities. And we just saw a few days ago an illegal alien from South America setting on fire a person on the metro in, I don't remember if it was New York or New Jersey, but that area anyway.
Right.
What changes do you think that the new administrations will bring to securities in big cities?
That's a hard one to answer, but my thought is that as this country turns more to the right and wants to focus on its own towns and cities' security, I think the theme of the Trump administration about, protect America and make America great again will translate at the local level to more aggressive treatment of illegal immigrants, more aggressive treatment of protesters who have been ordered to disperse but choose not to. I think the Biden administration was viewed as pretty soft on all that kind of stuff. But starting January 20th to 25, I think that is gonna shift a little bit to the right, and so that's a good thing, because we can't be a country if we don't enforce immigration laws. Otherwise, we wouldn't be known as a country. And when people come here, they should want to adapt to American customs and ways and language. People who come here from other countries want to better their own lives and therefore want to come to the U.S. in a perceived thought to improve themselves and improve their families' lives. So that theme, I think, is going to resonate pretty strongly in 2025 with the local PDs, if I had to guess.
So, have a recent history and still very alive in our memories, the death of George Floyd and the Black Lives Matter movement. And if we go even further back in history, we have Rodney King and also revolts in LA. But let's stick to what is recent. How do you think that will square? What impact will have an administration of a new president who doesn't seem to be very interested in diversity and inclusion with the movement we had in recent years?
Yeah, he's a fascinating individual. He's not doesn't care that much about DEI per se, but if you look at his picks for different cabinet appointments and others, he's shown quite a bit of diversity. He's shown quite a bit of wanting to pick non-administration types. He's shown a lot of creativity in people that he thinks will disrupt the status quo of the federal agencies that are charged with security and intelligence and so forth. So philosophically, I'm not opposed to that at all, because this is a democracy. This is not a strongman regime. It's not a third world dictatorship. It's not Syria up until 2 weeks ago. The country is organized with 3 branches of government, each of which has their own power centers and bases. The president can talk all he wants about putting a border wall up for 10,000 miles But as you well know, the U.S. Congress gets the last word on that because they're the ones that have to commit the money to it. And so our three branches of government execute a unique balance among the world. I think we're the oldest active democracy. And so that balance suggests that he has to find a bit of a compromise as he goes forward. What happened to George Floyd was heinous, was horrible. Everybody saw it. The people involved, the former law enforcement, are serving time in prison. Black Lives Matter. I'm not sure how that has much play, especially today. A lot of the BLM movement has been proven to have been, I would say, misrepresented. But it's brought the country to a new place of accepting people that look different than us, that talk differently than us, that dress differently than us. And that's what America has been about for 250 years, is accepting new people into the mix of this crazy great country. And I think the fact that he earlier had sort of dissed DEI was in order to be more appealing to a block of voters that an awful lot of Americans that think DEI is baloney. They think that it ought to be the best person to serve, no matter what he or she looks like or what color of hair they have. And so DEI is diversity, inclusion, equity. I don't know what equity means, but and so those are good philosophies. But when it comes to law enforcement and life or death decisions, you can't have somebody on the team who's not the best athlete. It's a meritocracy, as I've said before to you, to our viewers. And meritocracy means if you're not capable of doing the job, no matter what your gender or whatever, then we'll find something else for you to do maybe. But we only want the best and the brightest and the people who can accomplish the mission in jobs like Secret Service agent, protecting the president and his family and so forth. So I hope that answers it to some degree.
Yeah, no, it does. And you also mentioned immigration a couple of times. And one of the things Republicans have been complaining about is that immigration was out of control this last few years. So
Yep,
what do you
100%.
think we should expect in the next years? You already said something, but feel free to elaborate.
Yeah, thank you. If you're a foreign person wanting to come to the U.S. and you go onto the Department of State website and you apply through the consulate in your country, maybe you're in Argentina, and you want to become a citizen or at least come here temporarily, you go there and apply for some residency, fill out some forms. If you're gonna be one of the millions of people that think the old-fashioned way of getting in here, maybe it's not old-fashioned, but coming here absent the proper paperwork, I think you're going to have a lot steeper hill to climb starting in 2025 with the new president in place. And I dare say that most Americans feel like, and all of us are immigrants too. My great-grandfather came from Ireland in 1865 or so, landed in New Haven, Connecticut. And so it's just a matter of who's been here longer, but he didn't come illegally. He didn't sneak in the back door. And so I think most Americans feel like in order to be a solvent country with laws and culture in place, we need to have an orderly method by which we take in new humans, new people.
You also mentioned John Ratcliffe, who's supposed to be the proposed a new director of the CIA. What can you tell us about him?
He is a well-meaning, charming, looks the part. As I mentioned, Trump likes people that look the part. So he looks the part of a CIA guy. One of his websites, when he was ODNI, called him the nation's chief spy, which I wouldn't have said, but so I think he's well-meaning. He's not yet very full of experience or wisdom in many respects, but he's very, very loyal to President-elect Trump, and I think that's one of Trump's priorities is to pick people who are super, super loyal to him. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but I hope that Mr. Ratliff will acquit himself in the new job better than he did as the ODNI. But we'll see. He has yet to be confirmed also. And again, Trump could sort of end run it by appointing him as acting, and there's no provision in the Constitution or statutes that disallow for that. So we'll see what happens.
Well,
I
I
don't
think
think.
that. Oh, sorry.
Go
Go
ahead.
ahead. No,
I was
no.
just going to say we had talked about how the CIA might change its direction under a new director or a new president, and the answer is it would change only to respond to the priorities as identified by the White House and the National Security Council. But their ways of doing their work, protecting the country, will not change one bit, not one bit.
We've talked about inside the United States so far, but I think that what worries people more is what the new administration will do abroad, because I'm not sure if Trump has a weird alliance with Russia. I hope not, but we'll find out, because it's stuck in my memory that after the mission who killed al-Baghdadi, he thanked Russia so many times that I would have expected him to thank Canada and the United Kingdom, for instance. So what changes do you think that Trump will bring to the CIA ways of working abroad?
I think a lot of the interlocutories that the CIA has with other countries and their counterpart security services around the world, I think there's going to be a lot of questions in the first 9 months from the agency people stationed abroad about who is this guy Trump, and if we tell you something that we shouldn't, is it going to be kept secret or not? And those sorts of questions always come up with the new president, and it's especially interesting in this case because during his first term, starting in 15 or 16, he showed himself to be kind of a deal maker first, and a real estate magnate, a real estate operator, and he has no experience in government, and most Americans think that is great. So the agency is going to have a little bit of work to do, I think, in the early months of 25, assuring our allies and our other nations that we trade with and we deal with that things are not broken, secrets will be kept, and the job will go on as it has before. People in other countries typically overestimate the influence on a day-to-day basis of what the influence that senior government officials may have on their agency. It's not nearly as much as folks think. It's a huge bureaucracy, and yeah, President Trump last time around interfered in military discipline and commissions. He told the U.S. Navy to restore the rank and pay of a Navy chief petty officer, Navy SEAL, accused of torturing some folks, and so he interjected where he shouldn't have. But I think that's going to change this time around. I think it's funny to say this about a 78-year-old man, but I think he's more mature, and I think he learned from his first time at bat how things work, and I think he's going to be a little more chill this time.
Well, Tom, many thanks for your time. I think we covered all the relevant aspects of law enforcement and the new Trump administration. So I think that I do recommend everybody to watch and listen to this video before Trump starts his new presidency, because this is going to be very informative and will explain a lot on what we should expect.
Agreed. Thank you.
Thanks everybody else for watching this, and see you all in my next episode. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you for watching.